Hey travelers, welcome back to Canadian Star Wars Outpost. I'm Greg. Today I'll be going over my trip to Galaxy's Edge, what my days are like, what were the good and bad things, is Savi's workshop worth it, and how much money you should bring. So stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back. If you've never been to Disney, I do recommend that you take the time to kind of study. It did help a lot to kind of know what I was doing. It's nothing like Canada's Wonderland. I recommend you guys check out Ear Scouts. He's got tons of great guides on how to go through stuff in Disney and will actually save you tons of stress and time. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like what you see. So me and my wife went to Galaxy's Edge in October of 2022. We booked about 7 days. I went to Galaxy's Edge for 2 days to make sure I got everything in because I didn't want to stress out that I had to rush everything out in one day. I do recommend going early because you can book your first lightning lane at I believe 7 o'clock, and then it gets you kind of set for the day, and then you can grab your coffee and stuff and go wait in line. So we ended up going to Rise of the Resistance. The ride ended up being closed, and it threw a huge wrench in my day, and I started to stress out about it. The big stress about it was that I didn't want to wait all day and go to other parts of the park and not know when Rise of the Resistance was going to open. I ended up booking an individual lightning lane. It was $15 each to ensure that my wife and I got on the ride that day, and we actually booked it for around, I think it was 6:30. So we actually had the whole park to kind of explore and do our own thing throughout the day, and it took a lot of stress off because I knew I was going to get on the ride at 6:30. It is expensive, but it's definitely worth it. So we ended up going to Smuggler's Run right away. I think it was about a 10-minute wait. When we got off of the ride, the park was completely empty, so we ended up getting these beautiful shots. And then I ended up going to Dock Ondors, and it opened at 9, I believe. We ended up getting in, and that was also a great experience because, again, there was no line. We ended up just exploring Dock Ondors, no one in there. We had so much time to take pictures and look at stuff. Ended up looking at some legacy lightsabers. Did end up buying a Kyber crystal and Cal Kestis's legacy lightsaber, which was $169 plus tax. After that, we ended up walking around the park and doing other things, and we actually went back to our hotel to drop a legacy lightsaber off because they weigh a ton, and to carry them in the plastic Disney bags isn't worth it all day. So we ended up going back to our hotel and coming back later in the day. So if you're a big Star Wars fan, I would just recommend that if you're going to go, you end up saving more than you plan on buying, because once you get into the park, there's tons of cool stuff and nifty things I never thought I was going to purchase. And I ended up buying a tunic for I think it was 69 bucks, a Jedi belt to go with my tunic, Cal Kestis's legacy lightsaber, and a Kyber crystal. Trying to get a black one, but they're kind of tough, and I didn't want to spend tons of money on it, but I knew I was making Savi's workshop purple, so I wanted a red one just in switch out. So I made my rezo for Savi's workshop at 7:15, and then we had a reservation at the cantinas for 7:45. So you might be asking yourself, when you go to Galaxy's Edge or you book your trip, is Savi's workshop worth it? So I'll go over my experience with it and kind of talk about the good things and the bad things I experienced, and then just kind of my overall thoughts. So I booked mine for 7:30. So we ended up getting in at 7:35. So I ended up doing power and control. So when you buy your legacy lightsaber, you get a pin with it. So I did power and control. That's the pin you get with it. And then they give you a little card so the employees know which build to give you. So you go in, you pass your card out, you stand in front of your thing. They do about 15 people at once, something like that. And they bring you a big tray of parts. And then from there, they just kind of do a show. You pick your parts, you build it one point at a time, and then you have your finished product. So this is my legacy lightsaber. This is the one I built. I ended up going with a purple Kyber crystal just because it was power and control. I knew I was going to get a red Kyber crystal. So the good and the bad. Overall, I think it's a good show. It was fun. It was entertaining. And to hear Yoda while you just get immersed in the whole Star Wars world. The bad part about Savi's workshop is that, Disney's trying to make as much money as they can, which I get. They're a big company. And at $249, it's an expensive show. My show ended up being only about 8 minutes. They kind of rushed us through. I did notice too when I left, and I should have said something, but I actually have this big scuff on the back of mine, which it's okay. It kind of looks worn, but some people may not like that. And they have so many extra parts that this could have been one that they dropped and kind of just ended up back in a tray. So is Savi's workshop worth it? Personally, I would say yes and no. I definitely think it's worth the experience to do it once. Would I do it again? No, definitely not. For $249, it's really expensive for what you're getting because I only ended up having an 8-minute show. So my lightsaber is a little glitchy, unfortunately. So where the Kyber crystal sits, I think those parts are a little loose in between. So my lightsaber is just sitting there. You hear the noise it makes when you enter a Kyber crystal. So it's a little loose, I think. And overall, picking purple wasn't the best choice personally, because I've seen a lot of reviews online and purple actually looks kind of pink. It's not like an actual purple, and ends up being like a dark pink almost. So at the end of the day, I would have spending $249 on a short experience and a kind of glitchy lightsaber. I would have much rather spent $259 and two legacy lightsabers. The great thing about legacy lightsabers is that they aren't meant to be taken apart, so you can't change the carbon crystals in them, but they are solid and they stay consistent. So how much did I end up spending at Galaxy's Edge? Well, I did save all of my receipts from Galaxy's Edge just to go over it with you guys. So I ended up spent $249 on Savi's workshop. Kyle Kestis' legacy lightsaber costing $169 at the time, and then I bought a Kyber crystal at $17.99. So I bought the tunic for $69.99, and I bought the belt for $59.99. So I ended up spending $624.04 at Galaxy's Edge just in souvenirs. So Canadian wise, I ended up spending $832.38. So it's super pricey. So I do recommend, if you are going to go to Galaxy's Edge, they have tons of neat stuff there. Make sure you pack an extra bag for souvenirs on top of that, and make sure you plan accordingly, because I ended up spending, I think, an extra $400 more than I wanted to originally. Was it worth it? 100%. So overall, I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you should go to Galaxy's Edge. It's probably the closest experience you'll ever get to actually being on set. There's tons of cool stuff to do, tons of cool souvenirs. Some tips I would recommend: definitely buy Lightning Lane. It will save you the stress, and plan accordingly. Bring extra money and have a good time. See you around.